Welcome back. Well, is it possible that we could be eating food that actually causes disease for ourselves and our families? Naturopath Jaine Kirtley joins us now to tell us more. Welcome to the show, Jaine.
Thank you.
Well, we all know that healthy eating is really important, and there's been a huge focus on it over, I don't know, the last 5 or more years really. But how well are we doing?
Not very well at all, not nearly as well as we could do. I think if we say, are we eating foods that are causing disease, then we sit up and say, whoa, hey, am I eating something? If you say you must eat healthy food, it's like, yeah, whatever, you know, and we tend to sort of glaze over that. But the fact is, so much of the food that people are eating at the moment actually are causing very serious diseases, as well as more kind of nuisance diseases and conditions. So a lot of people are suffering where they don't have to be suffering. And I think our big question comes in if we have got a serious health condition like type 2 diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular problems, or if our families have got it, our friends, whānau, any if they've got it, we say, oh gosh, why have they got this problem? Why me? Why them? You know, it's so unfair. But the thing is, today, now, everyone can do something to decrease their risk of getting those absolutely awful conditions, awful diseases.
So you're saying that cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and also you mentioned obesity as a disease as well, those are the things that we can actually get from eating the wrong foods.
Yeah, and also cancer, mental health problems, we can all get those from actually eating the wrong sorts of food.
So how can food not only affect our physical health but our mental health?
Well, there's detrimental things within the food. So there's one thing, if we eat poorly, we're getting things that disagree with our body in various ways. And we also are not getting nutrients that we need to stay well. And that applies to mental health as much to any physical problems.
And of course, the mental health can often be a result of poor physical health.
Yeah, and can be, yeah, and they're definitely tied in. You know, we tend to look at sort of mental health in one bracket, physical health in another, but in fact they're very much joined. And there's not been as much research on nutrition and mental health as they say has been with cardiovascular, heart disease and nutrition, but there is some. And there's been quite a lot over the last few years, and the amount of research is now rolling. We're getting more and more, and people are getting more interested. Researchers are getting more interested in finding out more about it.
Yeah, it's important that we have that research, isn't it? So what kind of foods could cause us to develop a disease of some kind?
Well, but basically, I suppose one of the big ones, alcohol. You know, we've known for hundreds of years that can cause disease and detrimental to health. But there's also things that have been introduced into our diets, probably not our diets necessarily, but humans' diets in the last maybe 200-ish years. And the refined flours, the sugars, the overheated, the poor quality fats, and also all the way animals are reared, the way farming is done, the way fruits, vegetables are produced has changed over that time. So there's a lack of nutrients there, and there's problems that are caused with the way that we're actually producing the food in the first place.
Can you explain to us what the difference is between poor quality fats and good fat? Because you also talk about the fact that we need to have some fat in our diets.
Definitely. There's no human beings on the planet that can live without fat in their diet. Some, probably not you and me, can live without carbohydrates, but the Inuit people, for instance, the people we used to call Eskimos in the northern hemisphere, they can actually live on their traditional diet very well with a lot of fat, no carbohydrates at all. So the sort of fats that we need, we've got to think, where do they come from in the first place and how they've been treated, and if they're overheated, if they're of poor quality in the first place. So for instance, if they're from animals or produced in a way that is not a natural way, for that animal, the fats are more likely to be of poor quality. So most of the research on fats in the last 30 years has been on those sort of fats, and so they say, oh, we must avoid fat, but there has been a lot of research saying we do need fats. And
so how do we choose, how do we know which kind of fats to use?
The easiest thing to go for is to go for the fats in the simplest way. If you can get organic or can grow or rear things yourself, fantastic. Extra virgin olive oil, an easy one to get hold of. Great, even better if it's organic, but any kind of cold pressed oil, any extra virgin oil will be excellent for health. A lot of studies support that. Other things, flaxseed oil, or sometimes called linseed oil, very high in the omega-3s, which tends to be very low in people who've got a highly processed diet, or a diet that where the food hasn't been naturally grown. Other things, avocados, great for our area. We've got so many avocados here, so that's brilliant. Good quality fat. Don't heat it, just have it cold. And nuts, another really good source of quality fats, high quality fats. Yeah.
Okay, moving on from fats, can you give us some idea of particular health-giving foods that we should actually be focusing on as part of our diet?
Okay, fish is a big one. Say nuts, we've already mentioned, definitely fruits and vegetables. Whole grains, if that means the sort of brown flour. If you look at, check the packets, because sometimes you might get a bread and it says, oh, it's brown bread, but after you look at it, it's got a higher percentage of white flour in it and refined flour than brown. So do check that kind of thing. But any white flours will be depleted in nutrients, so those whole grains are really important. They don't suit everybody. A lot of people are quite aware that they don't get on with grains, but for most people they'll be great. So fruits, vegetables, organic meat if you can possibly have it.
Not everybody likes fish either. I mean, is New Zealand a big fish eating country?
It's very big, but the thing is, the problem is the cost of the fish is so big. So what you can do is, when you get the food and the fish, if you can get the whole fish and boil up the bones for bone broth afterwards, after you've filleted it and
we're using it all well.
Yeah.
And also sometimes we need to develop a palate for these things, because fish is very important.
Definitely, sort of just make it sort of part of you, that you have a little bit more, even just tasters of it.
And portions is probably another thing. We're going to finish now because you're still with us for the next segment. But portions, we could cut down on our portions, and that can help with the budget too, can't it?
Yeah, definitely cut down on that. Yeah.
Great. Well, stay with us, Jane. After the break, we're going to find out how to look and feel good after the festive season.